Samoa Joe does not debut on Spike until the 4th episode. How do you feel about that?
Interesting choice, and by interesting, I mean bad. But he doesn't actually have, like, a big story going into this. He's just doing, like, a legend thing. But you could have him get, like, squashed on the 2nd or 3rd one. I don't know.
He does get a feature on the 2nd one.
Yeah.
So he is introduced at least. And, like, I'm with you that I would have had Joe on this show earlier. But when he does actually come out, they do, like, build it up. It's like, finally, we're getting to see Joe on Spike.
Yeah. They did a good job of not having him on the show.
They make it feel at least a little bit special when he's finally there. It feels like a big deal. It's like Joe's here. He wrestles Eel Skipper on the Go Home show October 22nd. It's a pretty straightforward match. Muscle Buster, Coquina Clutch, Joe wins. Joe doing the one-armed Muscle Buster carry is the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, because no one should be able to do that.
Where he's just holding the guy and balancing him with one arm and like doing a Joe pose before he drops him with the Muscle Buster. And like, you are the coolest wrestler that has ever existed. It is announced earlier in the month that Samoa Joe will wrestle Jushin Thunder Liger at Bound for Glory. There's even a video package at one stage on one of these shows that has some Liger New Japan footage. So that's Joe's match. It opens Bound for Glory, Samoa Joe versus Jushin Thunder Liger.
Samoa Joe getting a big NXT takeover entrance.
Yeah, he comes out with the Tiare Warriors in a traditional Polynesian dance. Liger comes out to his classic Liger theme, which is one of the greatest wrestling themes of all time. And if you are a UK or Irish wrestling fan, you know it probably first, unless you were a tape trader from the 90s. You probably heard that theme to death on the Wrestling Channel when there was just like a 2-minute Jushin Liger commercial that was just like, here's Jushin Liger, he's cool. And it was set to Jushin Liger's theme song. Just like during the ad break, it's like, we didn't sell ads this month, so let's air a 2-minute Liger motion video. So
that's awesome. Wish I had the Wrestling Channel.
They threw streamers for Liger, which is one of the very few times in TNA history they've ever done that.
It was a good little atmosphere for it, even if the match didn't exactly, bust all the stars out.
Yeah, because because they had to add the gauntlet, this feels like the match that got cut most for time, especially because Styles and Daniels had to go 30 minutes. So
I would have just cut off a 3OK match or some bullshit.
But even like the Diamonds in the Rough against Shark Boy Apollo and David Young match is utterly disposable. Just cut it.
Yeah, I just get rid of one of those and give it all to Liger and Joe.
But as it was like a real good 6-7 minute sprint where they threw bombs at each other and the crowd were going nuts. That's the disappointment, because this is it shortly after or before Joe Kobashi?
It's after, I think.
Yeah, I think it's only like a month or so after Joe Kobashi.
So obviously that's what people had in their minds.
I do think like part of the Impact Zone was like, this is our version of that now, where we get the like Joe's wrestling a different Japanese legend and let's big that bad boy up.
It's kind of unfair to be like, all right, have one of the best matches of all time now.
In 7 minutes. Simon Inoki's at ringside. There's also one of my favorite things, but I'm not sure does it happen as much anymore when there's a Japanese wrestler on a US show, but there's a bunch of Japanese photographers at ringside for all the Japanese magazines, and I loved that back in this era when you'd see like just a parade of Japanese photographers who flew over to get photos of these Japanese stars having big US matches. I don't pay enough attention at ringside. I see it's like too commonplace now for Japanese wrestlers to have big US matches that they don't bother flying people over anymore.
Yeah, they don't really do it anymore.
It happens too much. And also you can just get photos digitally these days.
But they had it at Forbidden Door, I think.
Yeah, it makes sense for like big shows. Like a show like that, it would make sense. But when like Minoru Suzuki's working Collision, probably not. Simon Inoki's at ringside as well. They show him on camera.
Boo.
Do you hate Simon Inoki?
I think everyone hates Simon Inoki.
Joe wins with the Muscle Buster and Coquina Clutch as Liger passes out in the Coquina Clutch. He was meant to submit, but he passes out in it. And yeah, got 7. A little bit of a disappointment. Like it's real good for what it is, but what it is a 7-minute sprint.
Yeah. They had a ton of expectations on it. Perhaps unfairly so.
There was like some weird stuff about Liger where like he was meant to work the TV taping, but then he had to go back to Japan because he got a booking that came up after agreeing to work the TV taping that he gave priority to for some reason. I assume it was a New Japan booking, but he was supposed to do TV as well. He was also supposed to tap out rather than pass out, but there's a note that like TNA management wasn't overly impressed with Liger, which one, fuck off. But 2, maybe it was like that little thing where it's like he booked himself for us, but then booked somewhere else and had to leave. It's like, well, that's a little unprofessional, but
yeah. Liger, let's be real, Liger just didn't give a shit about this. He was like, yeah, it's a booking in the US.
It's not important to Liger.
No.
Dave does note that the reason their time got cut was because of the addition of the gauntlet match. And then rounding things out, did you watch the pre-show match in the end?
I did. I had seen it before too.
There was also a pre-show match, which was Shelley versus Strong versus Dutt versus Aries. Probably the second best match on the show.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's just like those guys having a really good X Division multi-man.
Yeah, they're going out there first at the start of the pre-show with a red hot crowd, and they get like 12 minutes to just go out there and kick a bunch of ass. And they kick a bunch of ass.
It's really surprising that they just never decided to give Strong a deal.
Well, there was like they fall out with Ring of Honor soon and all that, but like Strong and Aries are presences on the show at least for the next 3 months or so before they have the final like falling out with Ring of Honor where a bunch of these guys drop off or are forced to choose. But yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like you have a really good base to the X Division right now with the likes of Strong and Aries bolstering it. That like you could move those guys up into meaningful matches against Joe or Daniels or Styles, like the actual like quote unquote stars of the X Division right now, or like the other generation of like Sabin, Bentley, PD, Shelley. And it's like there's so many combinations of cool X Division guys you can have here in the end of 2005, and it is a shame that Aries and Strong just go away.
Tis.
The crowd are doing dueling We Want Sanjay, Austin Aries chants while Shelley and Strong are wrestling, which is quite rude.
They also were chanting for the sprinkler, so I don't think we have to trust these fans.
You don't love Sanjay's The Sprinkler?
It's so dumb, but I like. Of course, it's one of those stupid things I would get over every time.
Dutt does pin Strong with the Dragon Rana from the top. Cool finish, cool match.
Which is impressive. I love the Dragon Rana.
Yeah, they go a million. He also does like the Slingshot Dragon Rana at one stage, which I also love.
Yeah, I love all Dragon Rana variants.
They go a million miles an hour. It has 4 great wrestlers doing great wrestling. If you've never watched this match, because it is on the pre-show. Well, like to be fair, they do build it up the way they promote the pay-per-view. It's like, oh, it's actually a 3.5 hour show, but the first half hour is free. Like that's the way they did promote it. So they tried to make the pre-show at least seem a little more important. And the fact that it was on the pre-show means it probably got more time than it would have, and it was also free, so more people probably saw it. But if you haven't, this match kind of rocks.
Exactly.